The stars had always called to humanity, but for 37 years they remained silent. What humans didn't know was that 12 alien species had been watching them from the shadows, studying their rapid progress with growing concern. Dr. Kim. Hannah pressed her palm against the cold observation window of Luna Station, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The blue marble looked peaceful, but something felt wrong. For months, she had been running the same experiments in her quantum physics lab, and every single one failed at the exact same point. It wasn't natural. Nothing in science was that precise. Another failure, her research partner Park Do-yeon said, walking into the lab with a cup of synthetic coffee. His dark hair was messy from running his hands through it, a habit he picked up whenever their work hit dead ends. The particle accelerator shut down again at 97% capacity. Hannah turned from the window, her eyes narrowed. That's the 15th time this month. Same percentage, same error message, same complete system failure. She pulled up the data on her tablet, showing him the identical readings. Do-yeon, this isn't coincidence anymore. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, Commander Lee Gi-woo was experiencing his own frustrations aboard the deep space research vessel Endeavour. His team had been trying to break the light speed barrier for 3 years, but every attempt ended in the same result. Their experimental drives would build up energy, reach a specific threshold, and then simply stop working. "Sir, we're getting the same readings as last time," reported Lieutenant Park Sola from the navigation station. Her voice carried the exhaustion of someone who had run the same failed test too many times. "The drive reaches 0.7 light speed and then ... nothing." Ji-woo stared at the data scrolling across his screen. Every number was identical to their previous attempts. "That's impossible. We changed the entire drive system. New power source, new navigation, new everything." Back on Luna Station, Hannah was digging deeper into historical records. She pulled up research data from universities across Earth and the colonies, looking for patterns. What she found made her blood run cold. Every major technological breakthrough in the past 37 years had hit the same wall. Fusion power, quantum computing, genetic engineering, space travel, all of them stopped progressing at very specific points. "Do-yeon, look at this," she called, her voice shaking slightly. She projected the data onto the lab's main screen. Mars colonies, terraforming project. They were making incredible progress. Then suddenly every atmospheric processor failed. Failure rate was exactly 97% across all systems. Do-yeon set down his coffee, forgetting to drink it. That's the same percentage our accelerator fails at. Gets worse." Hannah pulled up more files. The asteroid mining operations in the belt, Jupiter's gas collection platforms, even the new medical research on Earth. They all hit walls at mathematically precise intervals. The truth was far more complex than they realized. High above Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human sensors, a massive alien structure orbited silently. Inside, beings from 12 different worlds monitored humanity's every move. They called themselves the hegemony, and they had been watching Earth for centuries. The lead observer, a tall creature with silver skin and multiple eyes, reviewed the latest reports. "The humans are becoming suspicious," it reported to the council. "Their scientists are beginning to notice the patterns." "Let them notice," replied another council member, its voice like grinding stone. "They cannot understand what they cannot detect." The containment field is perfect. The hegemony had made this decision decades ago, when humanity first split the atom. They had seen species like humans before, young, aggressive, innovative. Left unchecked, such species either destroyed themselves or became threats to the established galactic order. The solution was elegant: invisible barriers that prevented dangerous progress, while allowing the species to believe they were still free. But the hegemony had made one critical error. They had never encountered a species quite like humanity. Back on Luna Station, Hannah was working through the night, her eyes red from staring at screens for hours. She had started mapping every technological failure in human history, looking for the exact moment when their progress changed. The pattern was clear once she knew what to look for. 37 years ago, she whispered to herself. Everything changed 37 years ago. That was when humanity's expansion into space suddenly slowed, when their most promising technologies started failing. When the stars seemed to grow more distant despite their advancing science. Doyen found her in the lab the next morning, surrounded by printouts and empty coffee cups. "You've been here all night," he said, concerned. "Or in a cage," she said, simply not looking up from her work. "Someone or something has put limits on what we can achieve. They're not random limits. They're carefully calculated to keep us contained while making us think we're still progressing. That's impossible. Who would do that? Who could do that?" Hannah finally looked up, her eyes blazing with determination. "I don't know who, but I know they made a mistake." "What mistake?" "They underestimated us. They built a cage for the humans they thought we were, but we're about to become something else entirely. The first crack in humanity's invisible prison had been discovered. The real question was what they would do with that knowledge. 3 years had passed since Hannah's discovery, and the secret had spread like wildfire through the scientific community. In hidden labs across the solar system, brilliant minds worked together to understand their invisible prison. What they found was both terrifying and exciting. Commander Lee Ji-woo now led a secret research group called the Breakthrough Project. They met in an abandoned mining facility on Ceres, far from prying eyes. The rusty metal walls were covered with equations and diagrams that would have seemed impossible to any official scientist. "The barriers aren't just stopping us," Ji-woo explained to the gathered team. "They're learning from us. Every time we try something new, the system adapts to block it." Dr. Kim Hannah nodded, pointing to a complex diagram on the wall. "But here's what's interesting. The barriers have to analyze our technology before they can stop it. That creates a tiny window of opportunity." Park Do-yeon, who had become the group's chief engineer, was excited about their latest discovery. "We've been thinking about this all wrong. We keep trying to go faster, jump higher, push harder, but what if we don't push at all?" The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Park Sola, the navigation officer from Ji-woo's old ship, had been studying the failure patterns when she noticed something odd. "The barriers stop us when we try to exceed certain limits," she said, "but they don't seem to care about sideways movement." "Sideways?" asked Captain Cho Min-ho, a former military pilot who had joined their cause. "Think of it like this," Sola continued, drawing on a tablet. "If you're in a room and the door's locked, you don't try to break down the door. You look for a window." This led to their most dangerous experiment yet. Instead of trying to go faster than light, they would try to fold space itself. The theory was simple, but the execution was incredibly risky. They would create a bubble around their ship that compressed space in front and expanded it behind, technically never exceeding the speed of light. The test took place in the outer asteroid belt, as far from Earth as possible. If something went wrong, they didn't want to risk the home planet. Admiral Song Min-ji, the highest-ranking officer in their secret group, watched nervously from the command station. "Remember," she said over the radio, "this is just a probe. Number, human crew, minimal risk." The probe was small, no bigger than a car, but it carried humanity's hopes. Park Do-yeon had spent months building its special drive system, using principles that the aliens' barriers weren't designed to detect. "Beginning space compression sequence," reported the automated systems. The probe began to glow with an eerie blue light as it manipulated the fabric of space around itself. On the monitoring station, Hannah watched the readings with growing excitement. "It's working. The barriers aren't responding. They don't recognize this as faster-than-light travel." The probe flickered once, twice, then vanished completely. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Had it been destroyed? Had the barriers finally activated? And impossibly, a signal came through. The probe was transmitting from outside the solar system. "We did it," whispered Ji-woo, staring at the impossible readings on his screen. "We actually did it," but their celebration was short-lived. The probe's data revealed something terrifying. The space around their solar system was filled with alien technology. Massive structures floated in the void, invisible to human sensors, but clearly visible to the probe's special equipment. "There are dozens of them," Sola reported, her voice shaking. "They're everywhere. They've been watching us this whole time." The structures weren't just monitoring stations. They were weapons platforms, defense networks, and processing centers. The aliens had built an entire infrastructure around humanity's prison, studying every aspect of human development. "Look at this," Doyon said, pointing to a particular reading. "These energy signatures, they're the same as the barriers that have been stopping us. These structures are generating our cage." Captain Yoon Tae-yoon, a young pilot who had joined. Their group recently studied the data carefully. If they built it, we can break it. The question is how. The answer came from an unexpected source. The probe's sensors had detected something else in the alien structure's human technology. Not just human designs, but actual human-built components integrated into the alien systems. "They're not just stopping us," Hannah realized. "They're stealing from us. Every time we create something new, they take it and use it to make their cage stronger." This revelation changed everything. The aliens weren't just limiting humanity's progress, they were profiting from it. Every failed experiment, every blocked breakthrough, every frustrated scientist was feeding the very system that held them back. "We need to be smarter," Jiwoo said, his jaw tight with anger. "They've been using our own innovations against us for decades. It's time we returned the favor." The team began planning their next move. It would build more probes, create a network of hidden observation posts, and most importantly, they would find a way to turn the aliens' own technology against them. As the meeting ended, Hannah looked out at the stars through the station's small window. For the first time in years, they didn't seem impossibly distant. They seemed achievable. "They made one mistake," she said quietly to herself. "They showed us the cage exists. Now we're going to break it." The first crack had become a fracture. Soon, it would become a complete break. The probe's escape had not gone unnoticed. Deep in the alien monitoring station that orbited beyond Pluto, alarms screamed through corridors that had been silent for decades. The hegemony's perfect containment system had been breached for the first time in over a century. Commander Veltar, the station's lead observer, stared at the impossible readings on his display. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his species. "Show me the replay," he ordered his subordinates. The holographic display showed the human probe's escape in slow motion. The small craft had simply slipped through their barriers like they didn't exist. No explosive breakthrough, no dramatic struggle against their containment field. It had moved sideways through space in a way their systems weren't designed to detect. "Impossible," muttered Krizak, the station's chief technician. "The containment protocols account for every known method of faster-than-light travel. This shouldn't be possible." But Veltar was already reaching for his communication device. Priority message to the High Council. "The human subjects have achieved barrier breach. Request immediate guidance." The response came within hours, and it was not what Veltar expected. Instead of reinforcements or new containment protocols, the High Council sent a single message: investigate. Assess threat level. Prepare for escalation if necessary. Meanwhile, Captain Cho Min-ho was preparing for humanity's most dangerous mission yet. The Breakthrough Project had decided to send a manned vessel through the barrier, using the same space-folding technology that had worked for their probe. Min-ho would pilot the ship personally, gathering intelligence about the alien structures that surrounded their solar system. "Remember Admiral Song Minji briefed him before departure? You're not there to fight. You're there to learn.
We need it.
To understand what we're dealing with before we make any big moves." The ship was small and fast, designed to avoid detection rather than engage in combat. Lieutenant Park Sola had spent weeks calculating the perfect route through the alien monitoring network, finding gaps in their surveillance patterns. "The aliens have been watching us for so long they've become lazy," she explained to Minho. "Their sensors are focused on normal space travel. They're not looking for ships that move like ours." The journey through the barrier was smooth, almost disappointingly easy. Minho's ship slipped through the invisible wall like a ghost, emerging into the space beyond their solar system. What he found there made his blood run cold. The alien structures were massive, each one the size of a small moon. They floated in perfect formation around the solar system, creating a sphere of surveillance that had been watching humanity for decades. But more disturbing was what the structures were doing. "Ace, are you getting this?" Minho transmitted back. "To the hidden facility on Ceres?" "We're seeing it," came Jiwoo's voice, filled with anger. "They're not just monitoring us. They're harvesting our technology." The alien structures were equipped with advanced scanning systems that could analyze human technology from across the solar system. Every time humans built something new, the aliens would study it, copy it, and integrate it into their own systems. Humanity's greatest innovations had become tools of their own imprisonment. But Minho discovered something else. Patterns were predictable, almost boringly routine. They had been watching humanity for so long without any real threat that they had grown complacent. Their defenses were designed to stop a primitive species trying to break out, not a clever one trying to break in. "They're overconfident," he reported back. "They think they know exactly what we're capable of. But we've been hiding our real capabilities for 3 years now." The intelligence Minho gathered changed everything. The Breakthrough Project realized they weren't just facing guards, they were facing an entire alien civilization that had built their economy around controlling and harvesting from younger species. Humanity wasn't their first victim, and they wouldn't be their last. The High Council of the Hegemony finally responded to the human breakthrough with typical alien arrogance. Instead of negotiating or reconsidering their containment policy, they decided to strengthen it. A battle fleet was dispatched to the Sol system with orders to implement enhanced containment protocols. What they didn't know was that Admiral Song Minji had been preparing for this possibility. Hidden bases throughout the outer solar system had been building ships and weapons using reverse-engineered alien technology. The same systems that had kept humanity trapped were now being turned into tools of liberation. "They're coming," reported Captain Yoon Tae-yoon from his observation post near Neptune. 12 ships, heavy weapons, moving in standard formation. The alien fleet approached Earth with the confidence of predators who had never faced real resistance. Their commander, Fleet Admiral Zextel, reviewed the containment protocols with satisfaction. The humans would be returned to their cage, and this time the bars would be much stronger. "Begin implementation of enhanced barriers," he ordered as his fleet took position around the solar system. "Increase suppression field strength by 300%. These primitives will learn their place." But as the alien ships moved into position, they found something unexpected. The space around Earth was not empty. Hidden in the shadows of asteroids and moons, human ships waited silently. Ships that used technology the aliens had never seen before. Built from principles they had never imagined. The hunters had become the hunted, and they didn't even know it yet. The alien fleet arrived at Earth with the arrogance of a species that had never lost a battle. Fleet Admiral Zexel commanded 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying entire planets. They moved into position around the solar system like wolves, surrounding trapped prey. "Increase barrier strength to maximum," Zexel ordered. From his command ship, "These humans will learn what happens when they try to escape their cage." The enhanced containment field activated with a deep thrumming that could be felt throughout the solar system. On Earth, every piece of advanced technology suddenly shut down. Space elevators stopped working. Fusion reactors went offline. Even simple computers began to malfunction as the alien suppression field reached levels never used before. But the aliens had made a critical mistake. They assumed humanity would respond the same way they had for 37 years, with confusion and helpless frustration. Instead, they had activated a trap. Now, Admiral Song Minji whispered into her communication device, from behind every major asteroid, from the shadows of Jupiter's moons, from hidden bases throughout the outer system, human ships appeared. Not the clumsy, primitive vessels the aliens expected, but sleek warships built with technology that defied everything the hegemony thought they knew about human capabilities. Lieutenant Yoon Tae-yoon was the first to engage. His ship, the Defiant, had been built using principles the aliens had never encountered. Instead of trying to overpower their barriers, it used their own containment field as a weapon. "Initiating field inversion," Taeyeon reported calmly as he flew directly toward the nearest alien ship. The massive enemy vessel fired its weapons, energy beams that could melt through any known material. But the Defiant's shields didn't try to stop the attack. They absorbed it and redirected it back at the attacker. The alien ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, destroyed by its own weapons. Impossible, Zextal screamed as his sensors showed the impossible. Our intelligence said they were primitive. How do they have this technology? The answer was simple but devastating. Humanity had spent 3 years studying every piece of alien technology they could find, learning not just how it worked, but why it worked. They had discovered that the aliens' greatest strength was also there. This was exactly what Dr. Kim Hanna had planned. While the military teams prepared for battle, she had developed weapons that could turn the aliens' advanced technology into a weakness. Every shot the aliens fired, every barrier they raised, every sensor they activated became a tool that humanity could use against them. Park Doyon coordinated the technical aspects of the battle from his hidden command center. His screen showed the real-time status of every human ship, every alien vessel, every energy signature in the solar system. Their formation is breaking apart, he reported with satisfaction. They're trying to adapt to our tactics, but they're too rigid. The alien fleet had been trained to fight other traditional military forces. They expected orderly battles with clear formations and predictable strategies. Instead, they faced an enemy that fought like no other species in the galaxy, with creativity, adaptability, and an absolute refusal to follow any rules. Commander Li Jiwu personally led the attack on the alien flagship. His ship, the Breakthrough, had been designed for this specific moment. As he approached the massive enemy vessel, he activated systems that the aliens couldn't even detect. "This is for 37 years of imprisonment," he said quietly, as he fired. The weapon that struck the flagship wasn't an energy beam or a missile. It was a space-folding device that created a small black hole directly inside the alien ship's power core. The flagship didn't just explode, it collapsed in on itself. Taking 3 nearby ships with it, Fleet Admiral Zextal watched in horror, as his perfect fleet was systematically destroyed by beings he had considered barely intelligent animals. Half his ships were gone, and the rest were retreating in panic. How? He whispered to himself. How did they become so advanced so quickly? The answer came from an unexpected source. His own ship's computer, analyzing the human weapons, discovered that they were built using advanced alien technology, but not hegemony technology. The humans had found and reverse-engineered devices from dozens of different species, creating hybrid systems that were more advanced than anything the hegemony had ever seen. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting technology signatures from the Kretel Empire, the Vorthan Collective, and at least 6 other extinct civilizations. The humans have been studying the remains of every species we've ever contained." Zextal realized the horrible truth. The hegemony had been so confident in their containment systems that they had never bothered to clean up the wreckage from their previous victories. Humanity had found those ancient battlefields and learned from them, combining the best technology from dozens of fallen civilizations. "Retreat," he ordered, his voice broken. "All ships, immediate retreat to safe distance." But as his remaining ships tried to flee, they discovered that the humans had one more surprise waiting for them. The escape routes were blocked by invisible barriers, the same containment technology that had once imprisoned humanity, now turned against their former captors. The hunters had become the hunted, and the cage had become their trap. The remnants of the alien fleet hung motionless in space, trapped by their own containment technology. Fleet Admiral Zextal stared at his instruments in disbelief as human ships surrounded his remaining vessels. The hunters had become the hunted, and now they faced a species they had completely underestimated. "Admiral," came the voice of Commander Li Guwu over the alien communication systems. "We need to talk." The negotiation took place aboard the human flagship, a vessel that would have been impossible just months earlier. Zextal, accompanied by 2 of his surviving officers, found himself in a conference room that defied everything he thought he knew about human technology. "You're probably wondering how we did it," said Admiral Song Minji, her voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. How a species you considered primitive managed to destroy your fleet. Zexthal said nothing, but his 6 eyes darted around the room, taking in details that made no sense. The walls seemed to shimmer with energy patterns he couldn't identify. The gravity felt wrong, as if the ship was somehow larger inside than outside. Dr. Kim Hanna stepped forward, carrying a small device that hummed with quiet power. "This is a piece of Credal technology," she explained. "Your people wiped out the Credal civilization about 2,000 years ago. They were brilliant engineers, much better than you at miniaturization." She activated the device, and a holographic display showed the wreckage of ancient battlefields scattered throughout the galaxy. "You made one critical error. You never cleaned up after yourselves. Every species you've conquered, every civilization you've destroyed, you left their technology floating in space." Park Do-yeon joined the explanation, his excitement barely contained. "We found 17 different battlefields, Admiral. 17 civilizations that you thought were completely wiped out. Their technology survived, and we learned from all of it." The alien commander finally spoke, his voice a mixture of confusion and fear. "But the containment protocols. They were supposed to prevent this level of advancement. Our containment protocols were designed for a single species developing in isolation," Captain Cho Min-ho said with a grim smile. "You never considered what would happen if that species learned to combine technologies from multiple civilizations." The truth was devastating for the hegemony. They had created their own worst nightmare by leaving the wreckage of their conquests. Scattered throughout space, they had essentially given humanity access to thousands of years of advanced research and development from dozens of different species. The Vorthan Collective's shield technology, Lieutenant Yoon Taeyeon explained, pointing to another display, Zephyrian Empire's space-folding drives. "The Crystalline Dominion's energy weapons. We took the best from everyone you destroyed and made it better." But humanity's greatest advantage wasn't just their collected alien technology. It was something the hegemony had never encountered before: the ability to improve and adapt existing designs rather than simply copying them. "Every species you've conquered developed their technology in predictable ways," Dr. Hanna continued. "Linear progression, logical steps, careful advancement. But humans don't think that way. We leap, we combine, we make crazy connections that shouldn't work but do." The demonstration that followed left the alien officers speechless. Captain Park Sola activated a device that was part Credal computer, part Vorthan engine, part human. Creativity. The result was a pocket-sized device that could fold space, generate energy, process information at levels that exceeded anything in hegemony technology.